and welcome. Throughout your career, you have been praised by people on both sides of the aisle. When you were nominated to the Supreme Court, President Obama said you were, quote, someone who would bring a spirit of decency, modesty, integrity, even-handedness, and excellence, end quote. Similarly, Senator Orrin Hatch called you, quote, a fine man who would be a, quote, moderate choice for the court. Even Carrie Severino of the Conservative Judicial Crisis Network once called you, quote, the best scenario we could hope for to bring the tension and the politics in the city down a notch. At a time when America feels more polarized than ever before, this sort of bipartisanship is truly rare. So I ask this question: can all Americans, regardless of their political affiliation, count on you to faithfully and fairly enforce our laws?
Yes, Senator, that is my personality. That is everything I've done in my career, and that is my vision for the Justice Department, to dispense the law fairly and impartially, without respect to persons and without respect to political parties.
Thank you for that statement. On January 6th, a group of white supremacists launched a terrorist attack on our Capitol in an attempt to overturn the results of a Democratic election. Their attempt failed and resulted in at least 5 fatalities, including a Capitol police officer. It also led federal prosecutors to file over 180 charges and initiate 25 domestic terrorism cases. So this is not the first time the Justice Department has been forced to investigate and prosecute white supremacists for an act of terrorism. You received high praise for investigating and supervising the prosecution of the Oklahoma City bombing perpetrators in 1995. So here's the question: what steps will you take to ensure that the perpetrators of the attack on our Capitol are brought to justice?
Senator, I think this was the most heinous attack on the democratic processes that I've ever seen, and one that I never expected to see in my lifetime. One of the very first things I will do is get a briefing on the progress of this investigation. I intend to give the career prosecutors who are working on this matter 24/7 all of the resources they could possibly require to do this. And at the same time, I intend to make sure that we look more broadly, to look at where this is coming from, what other groups there might be that could raise the same problem in the future, and that we protect the American people. And I know that FBI Director has made the same commitment.
Thank you for that answer. Over the last 4 years, the independence of the Attorney General has been repeatedly attacked. For example, President Trump once told the New York Times, quote, I have the absolute right to do what I want to do with the Justice Department, end quote. Do you believe that, in fact, the president does have the absolute right to do what he wants with the Justice Department?
The president is constrained by the Constitution, as are all government officials. The issue here for us are the set of norms and standards to which this president, President Biden, has agreed that he will not interfere with the Justice Department with respect to its prosecutions and investigations. That those decisions will be made by the department itself and led by the Attorney General, and that they will be without respect to partisanship, without respect to the power of the perpetrator or the lack of power, without respect to the influence of the perpetrator or the lack of influence. In all of those respects, the department will be independent. The department is a part of the executive branch, and for that reason, on policy matters, we follow the lead of the president of the administration as long as it is consistent with the law. And the role of the department is to advise the president and the administration and the other agencies about what is consistent with the law. That is our obligation, and we will do so objectively, based only on our reading of the law.
Well, thank you for that. I think you've laid it out clearly and directly, and it's very much appreciated. If the president's interest and the public's interest are in conflict, which interests does the Attorney General represent?
The Attorney General represents the public interest, particularly and specifically as defined by the Constitution and the statutes of the United States.
Do you believe that the president has the authority to order the Attorney General to open or close an investigation or a prosecution?
This is a hard question of constitutional law, but I do not expect it to be a question for me. As I just said to you, the president has promised that those decisions will only be made by the Attorney General, and that is what I plan to do. I do not plan to be interfered with by anyone. I expect the Justice Department will make its own decisions in this regard.
Well, thank you. I'm going to cease at this time, but I just want to say that I think you've had a remarkable career. You've done very special things, and always in a very reasonable, sober, penetrating way. So I just want to say thank you for that.
I'm grateful, Senator. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr.